up in a house of singers and musicians, right? My family had, I remember we had an 8-track player, we had records, all of the things, right? And anytime I acted remotely selfish, my mother would play the song. I think it's by Carly Simon. You're so vain. You probably think the song is about you. You're so vain, right? And her raspy voice, my favorite part is like in the middle of the chorus, she's like, don't you, because she's like accusing this person of being vain. And when I went looking for songs to embody this episode, I could not find one specifically about a narcissist boss. But that song immediately came to mind. Someone who is overly into themselves, self-seeking, self-serving, and has to have an audience in order to, I don't know, live, survive, and thrive. And so this episode is going to be a little different because we're going to talk about the person whose entire world revolves completely around them. Today, we're talking about the narcissist. And so your boss sucks. Now what?
So your boss sucks. Now what? You ain't broken. Trust your gut. So your boss sucks. Now what? Time to rise up. Make the cut. Your boss sucks. Now what? Now boss sucks. Now what? Your boss sucks. Now what? Now boss sucks. Now what?
Hey folks, it's your girl Natalie Parker. I'm so glad you are here. It's been an amazing week. I can't believe the weeks are going by so fast and summer's almost over. I've got one kid that's already in school, another one that's about to go in school. But I want to tell you guys, I did a thing. You can check it out on my website. But a few days ago, I got to do a workshop under the umbrella of my company, Natalie Parker Enterprises. I got to do something huge, something I don't know that I ever wanted, or nor did I expect. But I got to do a workshop with the Washington Commanders football team. And I will tell you that I am beyond impressed with everything that goes on to, opening a stadium, making sure people are safe, moving the people around, all of the things like you would not imagine. If you've ever gone to a concert or a football game or any kind of sports game, it takes a lot of logistical prowess, consciousness, and specialization to do the things well. And this team, Tanya Hill, Naomi Carson, and Elena Zaghetti, they were top-notch, bar none. And I really, really appreciate being a part of that experience, and it's stellar. So if you want to see a picture, go over to the website, thenatalieparker.com. I had a blast. Now back to the episode. So we're talking about narcissists, and it's a word that gets used a lot. I mean, like a lot. I'm like, oh my God, they're such a narcissist. And kind of like Inigo Montoya in The Princess Bride, he tells one of the characters, I don't think that word means what you think it means. In our society, we get sticky on words. We like to use them. So now some of the top words are pivot and triggered and all of the other things. But I challenge you, listener, to go to the dictionary, if you still have one at home, go to Wikipedia, go somewhere, go to Merriam.com, Merriam-Webster.com, go find out the definition of all the words you're using to make sure you're using them right. Because words matter, words have power. And this one word, I think we have a very definition of what a narcissist is, but we do know how it impacts us. The person who every circumstance is about them, the leader who anytime you do something, they're taking credit for it. Me and my team did a wonderful job, not in like a small way, but a consistent way, in a way that makes them look good. And you might wonder where this term came from. It actually came from Greek mythology. See, the Greeks believed that, they had gods and demigods and all of the things, and we find ourselves with a character named Narcissus. And Narcissus, what he did was, he was very much, and I do mean very much, in love with himself. And he thought himself so gorgeous, so beautiful that he went around trying to find someone to love him, someone that he could find his equal. And he ran into a young lady named Echo. And what's interesting about Echo is that she had, I believe, spoken to the god Juno and like talked her head off, apparently, to the point where she was cursed to only now repeat anything anyone else said. And so Narcissist comes across Echo and he finds her, and all she can do is repeat what he says to her. She's in love with him. He rejects her because he finds her very dull and daft. Or is that the word? Anyway, he don't like her. So she ends up being kind of unrequited and sad and, all of the things. And she could only repeat what other people say. He, in turn, falls so madly in love with himself that he looks at himself day in and day night. He goes to the water and sees his reflection and stares incessantly to the point where he drowns and dies. That is the story of Narcissus or Narcissist, however you want to say it. Listen, go find it. It's an interesting story. I'll put a link to a really good version of it from Ted in the chat, or not in the chat, but in the show notes. That is the origin story of this word. Someone who has such a grand perspective of themselves that they believe the entire world revolves around them. And what's interesting is there is a difference between having narcissistic behaviors and having a full-blown personality disorder. And I promise you, I am not a medical, I am not someone in the medical field, so we're not going to be diagnosing anybody. I keep telling you all this, that these are behaviors that you will probably see in all of your bosses in some way, shape, or form. The point of this is for you to know what you're looking for, know what you're looking at, know how to navigate it, know how not to trigger it, and know how to survive it. Because not every jerk is a narcissist, and not every narcissistic behavior is a full-blown diagnosis. The APA dictionary defines narcissism as an excessive self-love or egocentrism. Now, when it comes to the personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, they say that it's a pervasive, grandiose, and need for admiration, lack of empathy. So I don't care about you. It's all about me, right? I think one of the reasons why we overuse the term is because we sometimes see confidence as a sign of narcissism. Now, I think there's a really fine line between like knowing yourself and showing up fully in your authority versus being completely tone deaf and just thinking everything you do is great. The sun shines and rises and sets on your backside and your stuff don't stink. It's important that we know that there is a difference. And what's really interesting is Harvard Business Review has this article, we'll reference it a little bit later again, that there's a difference between healthy narcissism and unhealthy narcissism. I don't know if I believe that, but let's get into it. When Narcissus looks at his own reflection, he just sees himself and he's in love with that. But what's interesting to me is that the narcissist, right, this character, he needs an audience. He needs an audience. So Echo becomes this person that's fawning over him, completely fawning over him. It's important that we recognize that the people or the behaviors that we are talking about generally need an audience. This archetype loves to hold court. They love to tell stories of their own. They don't necessarily have an interest in anyone else. And I would say that there's some pretty good pop culture references that I want to share with you that I loved thinking about this. My first was, when you look at every good Disney movie has some level of person who's a narcissist. Like, I think every villain is a narcissist. My favorite version of this is Jafar and Iago from Aladdin, right? So you've got Jafar, who's, he's powerful and he can do all of the things. And Iago's like, in his back, in the, what we call the peanut gallery, right? He's always co-signing on what he has to say. What's interesting about Jafar is like he has significant power. He is literally, to do a Game of Thrones reference, he is the hand to the king, right? He's the right hand guy. He's the right hand to Jasmine's dad. So like he literally only has like one step away from like the thing, and he still wants more. He still wants to be seen as powerful, as the greatest power ever. And at the end of the movie, like he becomes this great, huge thing, and he ends up being a genie, right? Right. Spoiler alert if you didn't watch it. Hope you already watched it. But this need for more.
More is better than less, because if stuff is not if there's less stuff, then you might want to have some more, and your parents just don't let you because there's only a little bit.
Right.
We want more. We want more. Like, you really like it. You want more.
More, this thirst and hunger and never getting enough of themselves. Like that's one of the characteristics we see. That's one of the archetypes. When I was like, oh yeah, Disney movies has a lot of narcissism in it. Scar and the hyenas, right? The uncle to Simba, he's all into himself, even though he acts like he's self-deprecating. He has a lot of sarcasm, but generally speaking, he's again seeking and ambitious. And there's nothing wrong with being ambitious, but again, he's very much about himself. I being a kid of the 80s and 90s, one of the things that came to mind for me was whether or not Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties. Yes, Family Ties. Right. So the Michael J. Fox character, like he was completely oblivious to anybody else's issues. He always wanted to get what he wanted. Not sure if that's one, but the other one that comes to mind for me is Dr. Fraser Crane from Frasier, right?
How rude.
Again, very grandiose. He's smarter than everyone. Everyone should, consider him and defer to him. Like those are archetypes in my mind. And I'd be willing to hear some more for you or even debate on the ones that I've chosen. But the idea is this. A narcissist is not only self-centered, they have an overinflated sense of self, right? Self-centered, an overinflated sense of self. And they want everyone else to defer to their perspective of themselves. If you want to see if a person's a narcissist, see the kind of people that are around them. Are they generally agreeable? Are they generally co-signing? Are they afraid to say anything different, right? Those are some of the signs, right? In looking at this episode, we were looking at a couple of different articles. One of the articles is Harvard Business Review. It talked about how narcissists don't make bad leaders, right? Because there are good behaviors and there are bad behaviors. So this guy, Maccabi, he says that narcissistic leaders can be visionary, charismatic, compelling communicators, willing to take risks, magnetic during upheaval or transformation. So generally charming, people want to be around them. There's another article that says, like, why do we want to work for narcissistic leaders? Because there's something about self-confidence that we like. We like the person who generally, I don't want to say not all of us, but we tend to gravitate towards people who have a high level of confidence. In a different world, we would call it swag, right? Like they just got some level of like where I know who I am and you should follow me. There's a necessity to that in a lot of different ways. I think we all should have a level of swag in something, whether that's music or art or writing or like find your swag, folks, because when you do, you are less prone to be impressed with somebody else's. Now, Maccabi also says that the downside to narcissism is their success reinforces their grandiosity. So when I'm successful, I get, as my grandmother said, even more the big head. They grow in isolation. They start to be very isolated because they feel like no one can keep up to their standard. And they can't be criticized, like not even a little bit. With a bully, you might be able to ask questions. With the micromanager, you can challenge. But with a narcissist, someone who believes that they are the center of the universe, then there is very little arguing with them. And we're going to talk about how you manage that. All right, so what I find interesting is that For those of you who are suffering around this return to work debate, debacle, whatever you want to call it, where your leaders like require you to come into work, even though like you may never see anybody all day. Harvard Business Review did a study this year of CEOs across the spectrum, mostly Fortune 500 leaders. And it said that narcissism was narcissists predict greater resistance to remote work. Power and status motivate them. And so in order to have that, in order for me to have power, I've got to have an audience. It's interesting because that trait, I think it helps people have a level of like declarative action around what they do as executives, right? You want an executive who's confident. You want an executive who believes in themselves. You want an executive who gives you a level of stability and confidence in their perspective. And the double-edged sword to this, especially in this article, is that it could go both ways. Like it's also good and it's also bad. So when it comes to the return to work conversation, sometimes it's really not about you. It's really about the leader wanting power and authority. The narcissist needs admiration to live. And if there's no one to admire you, then how will I know I'm great? Again, this is hyperbole, so I don't want to overemphasize what we're trying to say here. At the end of the day, people who have narcissistic traits are very much, I think it's an interesting dichotomy. Like, do you think it's necessary? I don't know. I think it's toxic, though. And let me tell you how. Back in the early 2000s, I was working for a leader, and this leader was always last minute. Like, I mean, all the time. Like, you could just see it, like the predictability of like, this is about, here we go. It's almost Christmas time, and now you want to work on December 24th. So having noticed this pattern of this leader, I was about to go on vacation, and I said, listen, we've got 10 days. It was 10 days. We've got 10 days before this project is due. I'm going to do as much as I can. But the day before, we're going to meet, and I'm going to tell you what I'm finished doing because I am going on my vacation. And the leader did what the leader does. They procrastinated. I don't know if it was because they had ADHD, they were neurodivergent. All I know was I created my boundary. And when the day came to meet, I came with all of my receipts of what we had agreed to do and what I needed to do. And I asked, okay, well, what else do you have for me to do? And they came with this like hellacious laundry list of things. And I'm like, we had talked about this already. And I told you that I'm going on vacation tomorrow. And their response was like clutched pearls and just dumbfounded. Well, I need you. Like, you might have needed me, but you also could have needed me 10 days ago. I'm going on my vacation. And the leader said something that I thought was so interesting. And they said, Natalie, you really need to learn how to sacrifice. I said, I am, but I'm also having boundaries. And they said, well, it's really unfortunate because I was really going to put you up for that promotion. I said, well, I can't cry over something I didn't have in the first place. And I walked out. It was interesting to me that in order to get, this work done, I had to work with the leader. Wasn't upset about it. They weren't a bad person. But they resorted to this like manipulative thing of, if you don't do what I'm saying, I'm not going to do this other thing for you, this quid pro quo, which really sucked. It was like, are we doing this right now? And what really made them mad was I didn't kowtow to it. I was like, okay, well, listen, I can't be mad at something I didn't have. So go kick rocks. Merry Christmas. Do what you need to do. And let's just say that affected our relationship. Again, I tell y'all, don't be like me in my 20s.
No, let me tell you something.
No, don't tell me.
If I wasn't here, I would surely take a day off from you and then a day off from these kids.
Because I promise you, folks that know me know I was flip and sassy and sarcastic. I still have a little bit of sarcasm and I still have a lot of it of the sassy. And I also know how to challenge in a way that doesn't threaten my livelihood. So let's go through the signs. The signs of if you're a if your leader is a narcissist, right? First, credit flows up and blame comes down. So when things go right, they're like, yes, I did it. I'm, king of the world. But when something goes wrong, they're looking at y'all like, what did you do? And y'all aren't listening and all the other things. There's a lot of blame that happens. That's the first thing. They need affirmation, admiration, recognition, and loyalty. They want you to give them deference. This is where I will say I probably had one of the hardest times in my working career is when a leader needed deference to feel legitimate. I just didn't do it. I don't know if it's because I was trying to preserve my own power. Like, look, I don't gotta do that with you. Like, I also find that narcissists are generally paranoid, right? So if things are happening and they don't know about it, they are very skittish about what it's going to do and make them look like. I remember working for a leader in Jersey where I was working on a project and he wanted to see it. I was like, okay, cool. And he was like, well, you're doing this and I need to see it. I said, okay, well, are you going to help? No, I just need to see it. I said, okay, cool. You can review it, because this reflects on me, not you. And the tone of his conversation for most of the time we worked together was around this idea of whatever you do reflects on me. Now, there is a level of truth to that. And I'm not saying that this leader was anybody bad. And the constant threat of you're going to make me look bad and I need to make sure you don't make me look bad is a bit dampening to the engagement scores. I can tell you that. That threat of, you better do this good because it's going to make me look bad is, again, another sign of manipulation. It's another sign of insecurity. It's another sign of, people wanting to protect their neck. I'm not mad at it. It's just how people operate. And it's one of the signs that someone might be or have narcissistic tendencies. And they have low empathy for other people when they're in situations. They have low empathy, very low empathy around you, your situation, what your needs are. It's low. This is what I need from you. Another one is that criticism, pushback, it gets personal. They see it as disrespectful. So it's, again, I need to be seen as the supreme being of the universe. If you question or give me constructive criticism, it makes me feel like you think I'm equal to you, and I'm not, because I'm the queen of the universe. And so challenging these people, these leaders, these people with these behaviors is really hard because they live on the other side of wanting to have a level of positive perception, everyone thinking positively of them. Again, their stuff doesn't stink. And so it really hurts. It hurts to try to even begin to shape the relationship, shape the perspective in order to have something good come of it. Also, narcissistic leaders need to be seen as competent. And when you're more competent than them, it becomes extremely hard. They become fragile. And that is a challenge because many of us will, instead of giving deference, we end up, coming out guns blazing, pow, pow, let me hit you with all the facts. I was coaching a leader and really good guy. And we've been talking about how he's like legit brilliant, like ridiculously brilliant. And part of the challenge is he has been working with people who don't have the same level of capacity that he does in his field. That isn't the problem. But the other problem is that, like, in every conversation, he was seeking to be right no matter what. Like, I'm right and I want to be right and I know I'm right and they need to know I'm right. Well, you can't argue with people who don't have the same level of reference, experience, competency as you. They don't know how to argue with that. They will articulate for what they need, but articulating and communicating and arguing with you about some level of competence I don't have is not going to happen. And so what the narcissist will do when they feel like they are being seen as incompetent or that they should know is they will typically play the power card. And they will also, I've also had leaders make me feel like I was like in La La Land, just in Oz, right? Just, we're not in Kansas anymore. Where, like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Actually, I do. Like, classically, this is how it works. Now, if you wanted to do something different, say that out loud, but don't make me try to depart from the knowledge I have to make you feel better. Like, I'm not going to co-sign on saying that the sky is green when it's really blue. And if you want me to say it's blue, say that. I just want you to say it's blue. I know it's green, but I'm not going to just lie for you. I'm not going to say that, some talent management process is successful this way. No, you've actually kind of bastardized it. We have now watered it down to the point where it's not effective. Own that, but don't say that this is the best practice. I'm not going to do that with you. And it took me a long time to figure out where my line is from an integrity perspective versus, oh, screw it, let you have it, right? It was a long time. And I will say that sometimes I still struggle with that. Like, when people feel the need to be right or to be in power and to have that level of perception, it's hard. I don't know about y'all, but it's hard for me. So the question then becomes, if the narcissist has these behaviors, what does it do for you? Well, what happens when you're working for someone who's self-centered? The people who are most successful in these spaces tend to be the people following them, the people who are, like Coming to America, where the lady was like, whatever you like, bark like a dog, woof, woof, woof. Like, it's that. It's the person who's going to defer and diminish and downplay whoever they are in order to get along with this person. That's a survival tactic. And I'm not judging you if that's what you either are doing or had to do. But when you're looking at the scenario, you can typically judge a narcissist by the people around them and how they succeed in maneuvering and stroking their ego and maneuvering around them and making sure that you don't spook the bear in the cage, so that their ego is intact, so that they don't lash out, so that they don't feel threatened. And we follow narcissists because, again, they're charismatic. They're the leader. They're, it's attractive. It's attractive for someone to have that swag that we talk about. Confidence is comforting until confidence tries to beat you over the head. Right? So, we find ourselves in this place where, okay, if we know these are the symptoms, we know what it makes us feel, because typically a narcissist will make you feel not only isolated, but stupid. They will use silence as a tool to send you a message. They will, if they're very nasty, someone with narcissistic behaviors may even attempt to sabotage you. Might happen. Don't believe me? Watch every Disney movie. The narcissist is always around trying to plot your demise. Now, I typically say that people are out for you, that they're just way more for themselves than they are for you. However, the narcissist is willing to sacrifice you, your joy, your happiness, your peace in order to get what they want. Again, not about you, more about getting them what they want. So the question then begins, how do we defend ourselves from a narcissist? The first thing you need to do is stop being a mirror to their behavior. If a person has an ego, if a person has, the need to be seen, you got to make a conscious choice as to how you're going to show up in that moment. Like, really think about it. Really think about the leader who, wants you to laugh at every joke, even though they're bad. Or they want you to applaud them. And it's, I'm thinking of Abbott Elementary, the principal.
What y'all doing in here? Never mind. I don't care.
Yeah. definitely a narcissist. Instead, deal with the action. Deal with, oh, you know what? That's an interesting thought. Find what I call your creative clapbacks, where you're not being nasty or mean, but you're giving some level of play that still allows you to be you. Right? Wasn't that funny? Oh, it was something. Right? Oh, what do you think about my dress? Well, I love that for you. My friends and I have a joke, because I don't really like that term. I love that for you. I think it's a little condescending, but I get it. Like, if you like it, I love it. That's how my dad would have said it. When you are dealing with the narcissist, the worst thing you could do is keep your beef quiet. What do I mean by that? Like, if you and your narcissist boss are going toe to toe on a thing, I'll never forget. I was making a tool for the organizational development team I was on. I was making a tool, and the tool was, a tool that is literally accepted around the globe in the HR community. And this leader wanted to like tack on 50 pounds of randomness because it wasn't clear to her. And I'm like, nah, like, you don't do this. Like, this is too much. And we kept going back and forth. I gave her what I wanted. And then we went to a meeting, and she got like the leadership like vomited all over it. Like, this is too much. And I remember her coming back to me saying like, well, you knew this. I'm like, I did, because I have the email receipts to show you. What you're not going to do is scapegoat me. This was your decision. Remember that. You also have to know your value, because when people don't understand the purpose of a thing, they're more than likely to abuse it and at worst misuse it. What I mean by that, so if you don't know your own value and purpose, then you are more than likely going to bend your shape to the narcissist in order to keep some level of authority and job. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you do all of these things where you continue to peel yourself away to conform to the needs of this leader, eventually you will start having challenges with like your own identity. Who am I? What am I trying to be? What do I want? I have coached leaders far and wide who have kind of followed this, Iago to Jafar mentality of like, I'm just going to go along with them because, it's protection. And when it's over, when that leader departs or gets somewhere else, like that leader is left with having to evaluate their own behavior and the credibility that they have amongst the people who saw them do all of this bending and compromise, right? This what I'd call an integrity compromise, but I don't know what you would call it. When it comes to engaging the narcissist in conflict, I would tell you, do not call someone a narcissist. Like, that is the biggest, match you could like to the gasoline of wanting to have a confrontation. The goal of any conversation when you're trying to converse with someone and change perspective is to solve a problem. So keep it about the problem, not the person. Make sure you're telling them, hey, I noticed this. This is what I'm trying to solve for. I literally just had a conversation with someone who wanted to prove me wrong on something. I'm like, no, I followed the process. And they were like, well, this is what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm trying to solve for this. Are we both trying to solve for the same thing? Yes. Okay. Now here's what I heard you say. Is that correct? Yes. This is how I took it. Now, was that your intention? Oh, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was that, this is our process. And like, well, I did my process. Your process broke down. That got nothing to do with me. I tell you that to say that when you're dealing with a narcissist, see the behavior, understand it, and read the room, but be very clear about the thing you're trying to solve. Because if you make it about the person, you will always live in your feelings, right? The words of In Vogue, give it up, turn it loose. It's not worth it. You've got to let go of your feelings so that you can see clearly, hear clearly, think clearly, and solve for the problem you're trying to solve for. Otherwise, you will always be playing their game, because there's a bunch of studies on people that have ADHD. And one of the things is like, even negative attention creates the kind of dopamine rush as good attention. And so you don't want to be in that banter of like that cycle of letting them know they've got you, right? Step back, Figure out what's the problem you're trying to solve. Then, what are the questions you can ask of them to make it about them?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Jedi mind tricks. When it comes to the narcissist, it's about them. So start with that. Like, okay, well, if this is what you want to do, how is this going to look for you? Or perhaps if we did it this way, I think this would end up positively for you. Like say that out loud. To get what you want, who cares? Say it if that's what they need. And for those of you who are like, I refuse, you can. But understand, unless your name is on that door, it doesn't matter. Helping put the problem first and trying to solve the problem puts you in a perspective of being able to just do what you need to do to solve a problem. It doesn't make you any less you. It doesn't make me any less me. It's about meeting people where they are so you can get what you need to get. Now, I will tell you, it's a lot of mental gymnastics. So eat your Wheaties, get good sleep, and don't come blazing hot, right? Especially if they've sent you an email or something that's triggered you. Go somewhere and cool off. Come back and solve for the problem. Make sure they agree on the problem you're solving for. Make sure they agree on what the values are for solving the problem and the outcome. What's the outcome we want? And generally speaking, for the narcissist, the outcome is any outcome that makes them look good. I think it's important for us to talk about also like when to leave. Like when does the self-centered, egocentric, attention needing leader just become more than you can bear? I would first say that retaliation is probably one of the bigger spaces. Like if you feel like you've done something and then they retaliate against you, that is a sign that it's time to go somewhere else. Now, workplace retaliation in a lot of ways is illegal, but it's go talk to a lawyer because it's interesting. At the end of the day, you should not be retaliated against for, for reporting things like whistleblowing and all that stuff, right? That's all illegal. But retaliation can even be, retaliation even can be like people playing jokes. So true story. I was in the office and my 1-over-1 leader came and said, "Oh, Natalie, come. I have something for you." And she handed me this red ball. She's like, "You should try it. It's really good." I said, "Okay." I put this thing in my mouth, y'all. And I have witnesses, like I'm not even making this up. I put this thing in my mouth and it was the wax from a baby bell cheese that she had crumpled up in her hand. Now, she was mad because I was moving from her department to another department where I wouldn't report to her anymore. And I was a bit of a pain in her side because I was doing well. The clients love me. And I was selected to say, "Okay, you're not working here anymore. You're working over here with these people." And she was hot. And so we were like within 1 or 2 weeks of me leaving the team. And she gave me, in front of a group of people, this nasty, fingerprint-laden baby bell cheese wax as if it was candy. Oh my God! Wow! I will tell you, I was so upset. I said, "What is your, oh, it's funny, it's a joke." "No, this is not funny, ma'am. Actually, it's quite disgusting." Now, this is before COVID, like circa 2014, 2013. But the point is that retaliation, like you will find these things that a narcissistic leader will do in order to make themselves feel better about hating you. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's rough. It's rough. Harassment, discrimination, threats, all of those things, like those are flags for when it's time to leave, because your mental health, your mental well-being, it will be under attack. You'll be in warfare. If the leader has unethical behavior, especially if you don't trust them and you think they might try to be pinning on you like some NCIS episode, like get out of Dodge. If they're trying to damage your reputation, some of the ways that you can really go around the narcissistic leader is making sure that you have advocates outside of them, making sure people know your reputation, making sure you know what you've done and that other people outside of you know what you've done, so that when it comes around and they say, well, Natalie, Natalie, I don't understand about her, blah, 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 blah. And other leaders say, well, I have a different experience with her. Who are you connected to within your organization who can speak to your work product, can speak to your value, can speak to your character in a way that your narcissistic boss can't dismantle it? You've got to find those advocates. It's really important, because if not, you will be on an island by yourself. Sometimes your boss, your narcissistic boss, needs managing, and sometimes it's just better to leave. My thought process is, if you cannot elevate out of the situation, if you cannot engage and manage to create boundaries that the person can respect, then it probably is time to go. But think about it very clearly. Have a plan of exit. Like, don't be out here just jumping out, because this job market's still kind of crazy. But know that there are plenty of other places to get gainful employment. And you don't have to suffer an egocentric, self-serving, empathy-lacking leader just to keep your job. I know it may seem that way, but there are 9 billion people on the planet and just as many companies. You can find your way into something else, I promise. Or, I don't know legally if I'm able to promise, but I believe in you. Listen, I hope you've liked this episode. I hope it's not been triggering for you, but I will say this. You can survive a narcissistic leader. You can survive someone who's self-centered. As a matter of fact, many of us have grown up with people just like that. So use your tools. If this has been helpful to you, like, share, subscribe. We will see you next time. And remember, don't let your boss suck the life out of you. Bye.
You're so vain. You probably think this song is